think most probably all of you know about the current discussions, but maybe I open my slide. You know, I have this sort of brain map, and then we decide together if there is anything we should go a little bit deeper. So let me share my screen. And so you see my screen now?
Yep.
Yeah. Good. It is well, actually, it's Lydia. I think you are aware of most of that, and Namrod maybe not. So it's let me start from the end, because that was when you mentioned the next annual meeting, and there is one thing maybe you're not aware of, but maybe you are. I don't know exactly. We decided in the board not to have a face-to-face meeting this year for the annual meeting. Here we are. But to have it virtual again, because we think it's too much of risk to plan a face-to-face meeting. And we will have two, as we had last year, one in the morning, one in the evening. There are some discussions we want to have about the governance review process and the stakeholders review process, and about things that might be discussed with regards to our bylaws. And the last 2 years we had a discussion. We had when we had the virtual meetings, we didn't have significant discussions because we always postponed them and said, let's have these deeper discussions when we meet face to face. But now it's time to have this discussion. So it's a way that we are looking for, and we are discussing how to do that practically. If we have two sessions, it might be the situation that we have a discussion in the first session and in the second session, and they do not stick to each other. And then, we need to have decisions. Yeah, let us find a solution for that, and we will have a board meeting in 2 weeks and hopefully find an appropriate way. So I just want to inform you, the next annual meeting will be held virtually again, and hopefully that's the last time that we have an exclusive virtual meeting. Hopefully we might have a hybrid version or an exclusively face-to-face meeting in 2023. That's what I wanted to update you, because I think especially Lydia and Namrod have not been aware of that. And then when we come from the end of this presentation, I would like to address two other things in the what has been happening in the strategy meeting in beginning of June. We had this strategy meeting in Vienna, and it was all about these three pillars: ethics and standards, knowledge development and sharing, and representations. But very concrete, what is the impact to this two review process? One is governance review and the other one is stakeholder review. The stakeholder review is our outside look, outside of ICMCI. It's not the internals, it's how can we deal with our approach that we want to represent the profession on a global level. And if we want to represent the profession on a global level, we need to be linked with different stakeholders on global level. And that means that that is not only global organizations, but also how our members are linked to the community, to the consulting community, and to the consulting profession in their countries. Because ICMCI is that strong, how strong our members are. ICMCI cannot be a strong organizations if the members are not strong organizations. And that is what is happening in the stakeholder review. Is there anything that we should propose to discuss in the annual meeting that might be an effect on the bylaws? How can we help our members, support our members to become even more successful as they are now? Maybe for young institutes, it's different to support them by having new members. But and for more mature institutes, they have other requirements, how we can support them, and that is something that is that will be discussed in the annual meeting, as well as how to link on other organizations on a global level, like we do already with EBRD. And I think all of you attended the International Consultants Day. We had Ali from UNIDO, and that was, I think, might be a very good start of a very good, fruitful collaboration. That is another stakeholder on global level. Just to showcase that linking with stakeholders on the different levels of ICMCI or national or regional levels is something that is actually not very complicated. It's actually quite easy, and our experience is that we are very often asked to link with other international stakeholders, and I think that could be the case on national level too. And the other review process is about our governance. So what should we do to be ready to deal with the current situations, developments of economy and the world as it is. And so we have two focuses. One is to focus on the committees. These committees have been established something like 30 years ago, maybe 35 years ago. That was that's a very long time, and at this time we had a different environment compared to now, and we had different needs, different situations. And we have a fully volunteering organization. Actually, the committees were sort of replacing our not existing staff at this time. And I think it's time to evaluate that. Are the committees the right committees we have? Do we need to change the terms of reference for the committees? Do we need to change the structure of the committees? Do we need additional committees? Do we need less committees? And we had very good discussions about that in our meeting, and I think we are on a very good way to propose some basics for the discussion in the annual meeting, because that might have an impact on our bylaws, especially with regards to the standing committees. What is absolutely clear is that the committees are highly important for ICMCI, because the committees are the link to consultants who want to contribute and to want to contribute to the development of the profession. And it helps us to be in constant contact with our members and our members' members. So there's no need to cancel the committees. It's the other way. I think we might need more tasks for the committees and additional committees, and so there's no doubt about that. Committees have a crucial role in the development of ICMCI. And same is to the hubs. The hubs have been established, I think, also 30 years ago. I haven't been in ICMCI active at this time. And for the time being, we have these 4 hubs: American, African, Asia Pacific, and Euro hub. And every hub is different. There is it's not that we have one hub that is more equal to another hub, because the situation in Europe is totally different to the situation in Africa or in Asian Pacific area, or to the Americas. And what we and there's no doubt that the hubs are a highly important link to the between ICMCI on global level and the IMCs on the national level. There must be something in between. It's the distance is far too long, because we want to help our members to attract more members to become more consultants to become members. And it is something that is an additional benefit to be linked on regional level. That might be much more interesting for many consultants to be linked on regional level than to be linked on global level. Because if you are living, like we have now, if you're living in Austria, in Australia, for example, it might be interesting to be linked with somebody in Canada, but and you have the same language. Even if you have the same language, you have different time zones, and to deliver business in Canada for an Australian consultant is much more complicated than to deliver business in his region. And I think that is something that is an additional value that IMCs can offer to potential members. And we had 3 hub meetings. Yesterday we had the European hub, and before that we had the AP hub and the Americas hub. And all of them we had very good discussions and very good input with regards to knowledge and development of the profession. But in a virtual situation, it is very hard to attract potential members. There is no direct contact, and I think it's to have the way we had it before the pandemic situation, to have these hub meetings face to face. I doubt that we can replace that on a long term. We might replace, or we might have a blended version, virtual and face to face. But I think to attract new members, it's also a benefit to meet people in person. And the structure of the hubs is something that we discussed in the board meeting too. I think that for the time being, the hubs are not in the situation that they can do all we expect from them. It's the hubs are sort of a department from ICMCI, and there will be some part or a department of ICMCI, but if we want to have representation tasks for the hubs, which is quite important for the European level, for example, they don't have the structure to decide, they don't have the structure to represent in that situation the European profession. So we need to think about what can we do, and how can we have, as I think it was Kim who said, the agile hub concept. That sounds very good, and that would give us that would bring us in a situation that the hub are as flexible as they need to be to deal with this specific situation in the different regions of the world. So these 2 governance review fields of activities, the committees and the hubs, were quite the main discussion points in our meetings, and we will propose, after our board meeting on July 19th, we will have a proposal to be discussed in the annual meeting, and that will bring us hopefully in a situation that our governance is fit for the future. What do I want to mention? What do I want to add? With regards to, I already mentioned the International Consultants Day. And I'm sure you remember the presentation from Ali Bednareh. Okay. Who is representing UNIDO, and he's responsible for the agriculture division within UNIDO, and they are doing, or they are buying, or whatever, consulting services for the agriculture business or industry in the African part. And they want to collaborate with us because they need education for the consultants, and they want to share knowledge. They want to, they're looking for knowledge with regards to coaching skills, and with regards to management consulting skills, with a topic or with a focus on small and medium enterprises, small and medium farms. But he says that there are also other industries or other departments within UNIDO who need this expertise, and that is what we are discussing with him. And Elena, I'm sure you remember the discussion, because when we had the discussion in the AP Hub meeting, and Lydia, Peter mentioned that in Australia there is a special focus, a special trainee program for the farming business. And yes, so that would be a good point to share experience and share knowledge around the globe. That is actually the task of UNIDO. I think that could be the start for a new cooperation. And we will try to do that for other organizations too on global level. Okay, and the last thing I want to mention is the ISO systematic review process. That is, tomorrow we will have the meeting from the trainers, the trainer community. The trainer community will discuss these 3 questions. Shall the standard be withdrawn? And if so, for what reasons? Shall the standard be revised? And if so, for what reasons, and what shall be revised? Or shall the standard remain unchanged? So if you have any chance to join this meeting, because most probably you're all trainers, or maybe not. If not, maybe you can send somebody on behalf of your institute to join this meeting, because in all discussions with our members, they said, please give us a proposal. What is the opinion of ICMCI? And I think the trainers, they are most experienced, and they had many discussions with different stakeholders in the industry. So I think the feedback from that community is very valuable, and is a good guideline on how to respond to the national standardization bodies. There's one thing I want to mention. We had a webinar with regards to how to digitalization of management consulting services. We had almost 500 registrations, but surprisingly, they don't all join the webinar. They just register, but at least they register, and at least they all registered in LinkedIn, and at least they are aware of our activities. I think the webinar was very good, because we were trying to ask a question that is very often coming from the consultant side. What does digitalization mean for my business in a concrete way? What does it mean very concrete? How do I need to change? We are always talking about the clients need to change, and we are delivering digitalization projects for the clients, but sometimes I have the impression that we forget that we as the industry need to change too. And that is something that is, of course, with regards to digitalization. I'm sure we will have more webinars on that, because the feedback was quite good, and it seems that many consultants are at least interested. I would like to have them joining more, but it's, even if they are not, it's a sign that it is actually that we hit the nail on the head, I think, as we say in German. Okay, that is a very brief overview of my report. If there is anything I can add, or maybe you have some specific questions that are not in this map, I'm happy to answer. Maybe you want to add something from your side. Please, let's have a discussion about
that. Robert, thank you so much for your explanation. Can I speak?
Yes.
Okay. I think the general strategy is very good on the 3 pillars. But I think I like to focus on knowledge development and sharing. As you very well said about digitalization, the way I see it is that our consultants will be confronted by ongoing disruption and transformation, right? And our consultants will need help to learn, relearn, unlearn, to reskill and upskill. At the moment, from my personal viewpoint, besides digitalization, the other area is cybersecurity, which is rocket high in most part of the world, and also ESG, which is a very hot button topic now. Now, sustainability is part of ESG. I'm just wondering whether, is there any way we can equip our consultants of all the member institutes on ESG, which is the next wave of transformation, all right? Either we have trainers in-house within the ICMCI community, or we partner with some global expertise or institution to be able to certify in certain course in sustainability and ESG. Now, when we talk about ESG and sustainability, is actually a very wide subject. Sustainability covers a wide span, you know, like energy reset, green economy, sustainable living, green and sustainable, green government, resilient future. You know, it's really a very big area. And I think a lot of how can we prepare our consultants to be equipped for this coming wave, you know, because now ESG is on a lot of agendas in a lot of companies, you know, and even at board level, a lot of people are recognizing that ESG is very important, but there's a lot of tension that they have to strike a balance between profit and purpose, you know, on that basis. So I wonder whether, how can we educate our members, you know, in this coming wave of especially ESG. Digitalization, I think, can be done, but a lot of countries have already got the skills and the knowledge. But ESG is an area which is like a black hole. Everybody is learning and discovering and is evolving. These are my inputs, Chair.
Yeah, but I have been to a UNIDO seminar on Monday. That has been conducted UNIDO together with ISO. And the title of the seminar, it's on my paper here, is you cannot.
Maybe you can read to us. Because
boosting innovation standards for sustainable development goals. And the ISO committee, there's an ISO committee that has developed a standard that it's a series of standards, ISO 56000, and there's 56002 and so on, and that is about innovation management system. So now they link together, they link innovation and sustainable development goals of United Nations, which comes together, of course, because SDGs, they have something to do with innovation and with digitalization. I think that is all linked together. My outcome of this seminar is the ISO organization and the UNIDO, they are all talking the same. How important is digitalization? How important is innovation? How important are the sustainable development goals? What can we do to foster them, and what can we do for the countries to help them? And everybody say how crucial SMEs, and somebody needs to go in this direction, somebody needs to go in that direction. But what they are not having is they are not having somebody who's doing the job, and that is management consulting business. So I think especially for innovation, the outside view on an organization is highly important. It's to be innovative, you need an outside view on your organization. And that is a typical management consulting job. So you're hitting exactly the same point that this seminar, that's actually, it's a whole week. It's the whole week, every day from Monday until tomorrow. They have a whole week, a seminar about that, but they don't have solutions. It's just they're discussing, they are discussing the problems, but they don't find solutions because they don't have solutions. They developed a handbook about the standard. Actually, that handbook is going in the same direction like we developed with our checklist for the ISO standard, for our ISO standard, because they have the same problem. There's an ISO standard, and that ISO standard has a lot of answers to many questions, but to make it concrete and easy to understand, you need to bring it in a format that is easy to understand by any stakeholders. In best case, to understand by an entrepreneur somewhere in the world, which is not the case for this handbook. As I read it, it's very nice. It's a nice try, but I don't think it's concrete enough. So we will. Maybe that's an outcome of our discussion with UNIDO. That is a knowledge transfer from UNIDO to ICMCI, and not only from ICMCI to UNIDO. They want to have access to management consultants who are educated and who have knowledge about the things you mentioned: SDGs, innovation, digitalization, security, safety with regards to data. And we cannot do the business. We cannot do the business of the management consultants, and we cannot do the business of our members, of IMCs, because at the end of the day, the IMCs need to educate, to train the management consultants. And I think that is the same situation like we have with the ISO standard, our ISO standard, that we train the trainers, we give knowledge, we prepare the knowledge for a certain topic which is highly relevant, but then it needs to be delivered to the consultants by the IMCs. In any way, we are at the very beginning of that, but it showed me on Monday that we don't need to be too shy. We have a very good solution. We have high experience with regards to training to ISO standards. In this exclusive group, I may confess, a little bit by accident, but nevertheless, it's available, and let us be really confident that we are addressing the right issues, that we have solutions, but we need to communicate that to the world. We can save the world, but nobody knows.
Yeah, you see that the problem with a lot of consultants, I feel, is that they have very little knowledge on sustainability and ESG, because it's completely something very new. So if we can identify, appreciate what you have said at institute level, but if we can identify some thought leaders around the world on certain topics, and maybe have seminars or anything like that, to educate, to upskill and reskill our consultants, because a lot of consultants, they may be very good at IT, HR, finance, productivity, you know, but ESG is something like, how do I go about it, you know, in the first place? How do I advise my clients to come up with an ESG strategy? How do I help the client to join the dots from conceptual to implementation?
Yeah,
that's where I'm coming from. Yeah,
I can tell how that was communicated in this seminar. The basic approach is and that was with regards to SDG, but it might be the same approach. There are 17 goals, and all you need to do, you need to go through your process, through your structures, and you need to define which goals do you want to contribute to. And then you list the goals you want to contribute to, and elaborate on the question, how can this process contribute to the specific goal number 9, for example, or specific goal number 10. So the basic route to this project, or to implementing SDGs in organizations, that is on a very high level, it's clear, but to bring it to very concrete on a specific organization, on a specific enterprise, on a specific business, we need to work on that. And I don't think there is anybody in the world who does it know specifically for everything in the world. But the knowledge is available and the basic approach is available. But now there's missing somebody, not somebody, but some organization, some whatever, that is bringing that on the next more specific level. And like we did with the checklist, for actually, because the checklist is applicable for every consulting project. And we need to find the structure for the implementation of SDGs for every available organization. But more concrete than saying it is so important to save the world. It must be a little bit more let me say, accessible and more realistic.
Like you see, it's a journey of 1,000 miles. Can we try to take the first step somewhere? A journey of 1,000 miles starts with the first step, you know, because really this ESG will become a very big thing. And
it is already, yes.
Yeah. But you see, a lot of people they don't feel equipped. A lot of consultants don't feel equipped. You see, it's not just a normal consulting knowledge. You still have to learn about cleaner energy. You have to learn about green energy, carbonization, you know, things like that, you know, decarbonization and all that. So I know it cannot be found in one institution or in one body, but if we can have partnership or maybe invite various people to enlighten, to enrich us, you know, that would be wonderful, because I think the knowledge development and sharing is very important.
Yes, I think it's the same procedure we did already with the ISO standard. with our
Yeah.
ISO standard. Some sort of a task force developing the basic approach and the training, and then implement it in our routines. And most probably, I don't know, but most probably, from for the time being, I would suggest that it might be the same train the trainer approach. But first step would be to establish I would call it a task force to develop that training program. And once we agree on that, we can call for volunteers to participate in this task force and to go to work.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea, Robert, to form a task force in ESG to work on this, you know, so that other members around the world can benefit from the expertise, because people need to know in greater depth to be able to advise clients, to feel more equipped to advise clients, you know.
Robert, if I just might make a comment, please. The one way for us to do that is through the UN Compact, the Global Compact, and to link the organisations to that the principles of the UN Global Compact.
Alan, you have a good point. We have a UN compact for this in Singapore. They started a chapter, but I'm just wondering whether ICMCI could start somewhere. I'm very interested. In Singapore, we already have a chapter from the UN compact here, but it's still very new and everybody is just finding their way, you know. Whether we can do at global level, maybe it's better. I don't know. I
think that is one of the first tasks of the task force to identify what is on the table, where is the knowledge available, and in what format is the knowledge available, because we should avoid to reinvent the wheel. I think everything is available. There is so much knowledge, and it's far too much. So we need to reduce it to what is contributing to the scope of the task force, and leave everything else. Because if we have, I would, as I said, this ISO standard about the innovation management system, they all contribute to SDGs. But if we use this ISO standard as a common understanding of how to do innovation, and innovation is obviously it's important to implement SDGs or ESGs. It would be reasonable and the easiest way to go along with this ISO standard with these regards. But as I said, that is a lot of work to do, and at the very end we need to find a way how to implement that in ICMCI. What is the relation to the CMC? Is it something that is below CMC? Is it something that we want to provide certification? By the way, they have the same discussion about certification with this innovation standard. They are asking for certification, which is the standard is a guideline, as our standard is a guideline. But many people in this seminars, they said we need to have both mandatory and a guideline, and we need to find a way to certify, but it's not possible in the ISO setting. So they have the same discussions. It's quite interesting. Yeah. But that is everything that needs to be developed.
So Robert, can I just add on something there?
Sure.
I think what Lydia is saying is absolutely correct. It's actually much more complex than just ESG, because there's also GRC that's linked to that. And I think a task force would be very helpful to unpack that and see what is relevant. And interesting enough, digitalization that you're talking about also is involved in that. So I think a task force would go a long way in terms of unpacking that and see who is going to focus on that. Incidentally, right now I've got a project that actually includes ESG.
Yeah.
And again, the way we found out, it involves GRC, it involves the issue of compliance. So anyway, if we have a task force, it will help in terms of say, okay, fine, what do we, how do we help our consultants be able to get into that? And linked into that, I just found out as a result of after COVID, a lot of organizations are reinventing themselves, and they can't do it without digitalization.
Yes.
They can't do it unless they embrace ESG. They can't do it unless they embrace GRC.
But the people, organizations and people, consumers, business, everybody's ready to change. I think
Certainly.
it's an ideal situation that we don't need to discuss, you need to change. They say, we want to change, tell us how. And that is totally different compared to 2 years ago. 2 years ago, we need to discuss hours and hours. You need to change, you need to change, you need to change. And they said, no, everything's fine.
So what I'm saying, I'm supporting what Lydia is saying, and also what you're saying, that I think a task force at ICMCI level will go a long way in terms of helping, in terms of how do we get around this. Because there are a number of other people that are involved in that as well.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Can I ask about something else?
Sure.
Yeah. Under stakeholders, I know we've discussed this before, particularly for the Africa Hub. This is a very important area because Africa Hub countries, deal with a number of stakeholders all over the world. And I think Rima mentioned the aspect of ICMCI being part of the UN NGO group. Yes. And I think it's an area that maybe we need to pursue just to see how ICMCI and the member, and the IMCs can link together with the UN agencies that are, that are operating, throughout the world, and have something that I think we can be able to work together.
Yes, well, very practical and very hands-on. My advice is invite them, approach them. On UN level, we will do, because I think we should address them on the appropriate level. UN is the global level, as ICMCI is, but if there are stakeholders on African level, I think it's better the African representative approach them, and if they are on AP Hub level, on European level, and they're happy to come. They need some time to prepare. They need that needs to be organized. It took us years actually to find the right person. So it's not easy in terms of just sending a mail and everything is set up. It's easy in terms of having a strategy to approach them. And the same, for example, yesterday in the European Hub, Shwesara, she invited the new chair of the International Accreditation Forum, and he was talking about accreditation and with regards to ISO 17024. They are happy to come. They are happy to discuss, and they are happy to introduce their organization, their approaches. And that was quite interesting. It was not that we change everything with regards to accreditations, our strategy. It was more confirming that we are running the right strategy. And I'm sure if once you identify the stakeholders on African level, and maybe we discuss that together with you, because maybe there are some global players, then it's on us, on ICMCI. Maybe there are some regional, national players. However, yeah, I can strongly recommend. That's the easiest way to approach them, invite them, they are happy, and then see what the next steps might be.
Okay. The last item on the stakeholders from my side as well is the issue in terms of collaboration. You talked about collaboration with other stakeholders. And I think another area, is just a suggestion, which will go a long way, is in terms of establishing the collaboration with other professional bodies, like ICMCI. A very good example, Institute of Internal Auditors has got a similar setup like ourselves. And they also have got a component which is within their standards that deals with advisory, and which fits in very well. Some time back, when I was part of the standards committee, some time back, we did a pilot where we worked with the local IIA, the Institute of Internal Auditors body, and we had a pilot on 2 of their members to see how they would qualify and how we would match the IIA standards in terms of advisory and the ICMCI standards. And we found out they were so similar and they were able to work together. And as a result, what I'm saying, there's scope for us to be able to work together and be able to boost our members for those that are IMI who also become our members. But again, that can also be done, I think, because IIA has got a similar setup just like ourselves, which is similar like ICMCI. Maybe it's something that we can talk about. Maybe maybe we can take this offline. I've got some knowledge in that area if you want to know more information about it.
Yes, I don't. Yes, sure. I think we should be open to collaborate with everybody who has some link to our profession, but it's not that we need to collaborate with everybody. It's on us to decide. And if we see that makes sense for us as the representation body of the profession, we should do it. And if we decide not, it's not necessary to deal with everybody in the world, because that is simply not possible. But let's talk about that, and sure, I'm happy to follow up. Okay. Thank you for this discussion. Surprisingly, we are running out of time. I didn't expect that for this small exclusive group, but it's good. Thank you for that. And we have a concrete outcome, which means more work for us. But this is why we are here, so that's okay. Okay, if there is nothing to add from your side, thank you very much.